Okay, this video I'm going to show you how to draw a very basic house in two-point perspective. I'm going to put a lot of little extras on it, and that's because my R2 students earn extra credit by doing those, so I want them to have a good instructional video. So of course start with your horizon line and two vanishing points, and make sure your points are big enough to see. I'm going to start off with my vertical line, because I'm going to create a rectangular prism. I'm going to make sure that the line's parallel to the side of the paper. Put it about right there. And again, I'm going to draw dark. I tell my students to draw light, and I recommend that so you can erase easily. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this corner, which is the corner of the house, and I'm going to make a short side and a long side, which is why it's not right in the center. So taking this back to my vanishing points, just like that, on both sides. And remember too that you can stop the line about where you want it. You don't have to draw it all the way back. As long as your straight edge is lined up with a vanishing point, you're fine. Okay, I'm going to make that a little bit longer. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and put in my other verticals for the ends of the house. Again, line them up with your center line and slide them, keeping them parallel. And same thing, line it up on this side. And keep it parallel. Okay, so there is my start to the house. I'm going to erase my extra lines. Get rid of those. And I'm going to erase the horizon line behind the house. You do have to have a pretty good idea where it is though. Some people will leave it in just lightly, because when you're putting in your doors and windows, you don't want the top of the doors or the windows to be close to the horizon line. Since that's your eye level, doesn't work quite as well. You'll have to draw very skinny areas, and you'll see, if you happen to do that, you'll see that that'll happen to you. So you want to try to avoid that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put a peaked roof on this, and I'm going to go ahead to this line segment right here. All right, and I'm going to find the middle of that line segment, make a little mark, and I'm going to do another vertical line. This is lined up here. Again, I'm going to slide it over. Now you can make your line all the way through, but I don't think that's necessary, so I'm going to start here and come upwards. All right, and I make that a little bit shorter. Okay. Then, once I've got that line in there, I'm going to go ahead and do some diagonals. If you remember correctly, okay, diagonals are not lined up with a vanishing point. I would say 90–95% of your lines are either going to be vertical or lined up with a point. But once in a while, you're just going to have some plain diagonals, and they're just diagonals. So I'm going to start up here at the top of this line, and I'm going to come down this way, and I'm going to touch this edge, but I'm going to extend it a little bit. Just like this. And again, these lines don't go to any vanishing point. I'm going to put the other part of my roof in by starting the top here and coming through this point and extending it a little bit. And the reason we extend it a little bit, it looks better if your roof overhangs the house a little bit. Okay, your roof is just not going to stop right there at the top. Okay, so there's one end of it. I know I need a line for the top of it, probably go down this way. So again, as I've told you before, if it's going in that direction, make sure it ends at a vanishing point. So I'm going to go from the top of my roof down to my vanishing point. I'm going to extend that a little bit like that. All right, now to end off this part of the roof here, I'm going to go back to this diagonal. And this is one of the few times where you will have parallel lines. So you take my straight edge, going to line it up on that line. And I'm going to keep going without changing my angle, hopefully. And then I'm going to draw the other part right there. Okay, get rid of my extra line. All right, good. Now, in this area here, here is the edge of the wall. Well, again, since my roof overhangs it, I've got to put an edge to my roof as well. So I'm going to use the vanishing point again. I'm going to come from this corner right here, go through the end of this line to the point. Hopefully they'll line up close. But even if they don't line up, okay, make sure that you're starting right here and you're lined up with a vanishing point. You can always erase the little extra tail, but that lined up pretty well. It's not always going to do that, okay? But again, make sure your straight edge is lined up with the vanishing point. You'll hear me say that a lot because I have to remind my students quite a bit, especially when you get comfortable with it. I may have mentioned this on the other video as well. If you get comfortable with it, you tend to want to take shortcuts, and sometimes shortcuts are okay, sometimes they don't work for you. Okay, and then also back here I would have a little bit of an overhang. Use my right vanishing point. I line it up and just that tiny little line there. Okay, so I've got a peaked roof right there, okay, on my house. I'm also going to put a foundation on my roof. I'm going to come up about this high, make a mark, and go down to the vanishing point for foundation on the house. Okay, so there we are. All right, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put an addition on it. Okay, you could have an addition over here that you use as a garage or an extra room, however you want to do that. And it's very, very easy. I go to the bottom edge of my house and line it up. This line goes to the right vanishing point. So I line it up like that. And all I'm doing here, make sure that's lined up, is I'm just extending it, extending the front a little bit like that. And then I'm going to extend it from the top too. Now you can make it a little smaller. I think I'm going to do that. Some people make it as high as the house. Totally up to you how you choose to do that. But again, lined up with my right point to do the top part of the addition. And then a vertical line parallel with this line to end it off. Okay, erase the line behind it, or at least most of it. Okay, I can put another roof on the top of this if I want, or I can leave it flat. I'll show you how to do a roof, very easy. I'm just going to decide how high I want it, line it up with my right point. I think I'll have it coming from about there. And again, that's your choice as well, okay, where you tend to put it. All right, and I know I need to have a line here, that's just a diagonal, and it's got to be parallel to that one to make sense. Okay, and same thing, I give it a little overhang. Let's get rid of this extra line. And using my right vanishing point, making this edge. So you really did the same thing on your addition that you did on your original house. You're just repeating it on another roof. And if that gets confusing, just go ahead back in the video and take the steps slowly. Okay, so there you go. I have my addition as well. I'm going to go ahead and put a chimney on here. Now, a lot of chimneys are going to be on the side here, on the side here, but there are some chimneys that actually are on the top of the house. And I'm going to show you two different kinds here. I'll let you choose which one you want to do. On this one, if the chimney is on the back side of the house, back side of the roof, I should say, I start with my vertical line and I use my right vanishing point and I use my left vanishing point to do the top of it, just like I was doing a cube. And if I can't see the bottom of it, I just do a vertical line here and a vertical line about right there. Okay, so that's fine if it's on the back of the house, but let's say I want it on the front part of the roof. And this is going to look really huge, this chimney, but it'll be easier for you to see. So if I want it on the front of the house, I'm going to extend the center line. Okay, so it ends up right there in that plane. I'm going to extend the right line. Okay, just like that. And you can see how this part is now coming down onto the front part of the roof. Now, this is not going to sit like a square because it's sitting on a slanted surface. So I have to go back to this diagonal again. I'm going to line it up with that, slide it without changing the angle. And I'm going to draw the line right here, just like that. So you see that this angle here, this diagonal, matches this one. Now, as for the front of the chimney, I'm going to use the right vanishing point. Okay, so that's what the chimney, whoops, I missed. That's what the chimney is going to look like if it's sitting on the front. Again, a little bit out of proportion, but you know, when you're drawing your final drawing of your house, okay, you can fix that. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's put a door on here. Okay, again, we're keeping this house very, very simple, but everything that I teach you here is going to help you when it comes to doing things that are more complicated. You have to find the basics, you have to learn the basics before you can do the complicated stuff. Okay, starting with my vertical lines, and I'm not bringing this all the way to the foundation. That's something I learned. When I first started teaching my students to do houses, I would bring the bottom of the door all the way down to the front step. But if you look at any house, that's not what it's like. There's actually a little bit of space between the steps or the foundation and the actual door. Okay, using my right vanishing point to do the bottom of this. And I use that because it's on the right wall. Use my right vanishing point for the top, just like that. Okay, notice too, and I had talked about this earlier in the video, but I really didn't have anything to illustrate it. I'm making sure that the top and the bottom of my door or any windows or openings is not close to the the horizon line. Because if it's close to the horizon line, it's going to make these little areas up here very, very skinny and very hard to draw. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so there's my door, and I'm going to go ahead and set up a window while I'm at it. Kill two birds with one stone here. I'll make a big old picture window. Again, top and the bottom to the vanishing point. Verticals. Okay, just like that. And then we're going to actually set up a third window. I'm going to do it over here. And I'm going to do this one above the horizon line to show you the difference. So, just going to put it up in here. Go ahead and use your left vanishing point on this one because you are now on the left wall. I always tell people in my lessons that if something doesn't look right to you, check and make sure you're using the correct vanishing point. 9 times out of 10, that's the issue. Okay, I've got my verticals here and my vertical right there. Okay, so right now, again, this door and these windows, they don't have any kind of depth on them. Okay, they're just kind of flat against the wall. So we're going to treat it like it was an opening, and my students have done this already with cubes. And let's see, we'll start with the door first. I'm going to create a line here that goes back in the distance into my left vanishing point. And then I'm going to create a line here. It lines up with my right vanishing point. I'm going to line it up with the top of the door, and I'm going to slide it down just a little bit. And I'm going to draw that so they cross. Okay? Now, this area where they cross, okay, right in here, make a little mark. From that area, I'm going to draw a vertical. Okay, not all the way down, just about down there like that. All right, I'm going to do a little erasing and trying not to cast a shadow on it. Right there. And then right in here. Okay, I'm going to darken these lines so that you can see them a little bit better. Okay, here. Let's make this go up to the corner. I may have missed a little bit. That's okay. And then, of course, I have the vertical where those lines crossed. Okay, and you see what I've created? I've given a little width to the door and the top of the door as well. So now it looks like the door is actually set back in here. So at the bottom, I'm going to use my left vanishing point again. And I'm going to draw this line back. I'm going to bring this one to meet it out like that. Let me try that again. Okay, and then I use my vanishing point on the right to complete my door. Just like that. Okay, so I've created a door, put a little doorknob on it for right now. It looks like it's actually recessed in the wall. All right, let's go ahead and do that with this window. We're going to follow the same steps. I like to start out with this line here. Take it from the corner in, like that. Then I'm going to use, let's see, use your left vanishing point for that one. Then I'm going to use my right vanishing point for this one right here. Just like that. Okay, and you notice I didn't cross these over like I did when I did the door. I think when you're first learning, it's a good idea to do that. But I can look at these two and I can see where that vertical line would come from. So coming straight down from there, leaving some space. Go back to my left point, and this is going to be kind of skinny, but we'll get it in there. Like that. Let's make that a little darker. All right. Bring my vertical line down to meet that. All right, then let's get rid of that. Then I finish the bottom as well, and that windowsill is very, very skinny, so you have to make sure your pencil point is really sharp. Okay, so that's how I'm going to do my door and window on that side. Okay, now if I'm moving to the left side to do the window, it's going to look a little bit different. I'm going to draw lines to the right vanishing point to make the depth, because I can't draw them to the left point because they're already there. So starting with this corner right up here, I'm going to draw that to the right vanishing point. I'm just going to draw a short line, and that line just shows the depth of the window, like that. Then I'm going to use my left point right here, like that. And where these two come together, there's my vertical line. Now, a question that I would ask in class of my students is, why does that look different? And what they will tell me is the fact that it's above my eye level or horizon line, you won't see this windowsill here like you would see down here and down here in the threshold of the door. You're not going to see it there because it's up above your eye level. Okay, so we've got windows, we've got doors, chimneys in addition. So let's go ahead and start working in the yard and the front area. First thing we're going to do is put a set of stairs on here. And as I mentioned in the last video, my students are always worried when they hear stairs because I think they're hard. They're really not if you just take them apart. All right, we're going to start right here underneath this vertical line to the door. I'm going to go onto the foundation area here. And I'm going to start with a vertical line that lines up to the door, but I'm just going to draw it on the foundation like that. Okay, this is where the edge of my steps are going to be. Think concrete steps. All right, I know this has got to come out into the yard, so I'm going to use my left point, and I'm going to line it up like that, and I'm going to draw this line that comes out into the yard. Okay, kind of just like a strange looking L. All right, my next thing to do is to set up the edge of my stairs, okay, the part that you would draw kind of a zigzag. But again, have to use my vanishing point. So I know this line should be coming out this way, so I'm going to line it up with that left point. Starting right here at the top of that vertical line, got it lined up with the point, and I'm going to do the top step like that. All right, going to use a vertical. Okay, go back to the left vanishing point. And again, these are going to be some awkward looking steps. They're going to look very large. But again, for teaching, you can see this a little more clearly, and we're just going to kind of keep it simple. Let's make that a little darker. Okay, so that is my stair line, as I call it in class. I've already used my left vanishing point. I'm going to move on to use my right. And let's do this right at the top of the stair. I'm going to decide the width. I'm going to make it as wide as the door. Okay. Now, I'm also going to take a line back to the right point from here, there, and there. So let's line it up with the right point. Take my line back. Line it up with the inside corner here and the right point. A lot of people forget these inside corners, so don't you? And then from the very bottom, and you can see the steps starting to shape up. Okay, and then what I always tell my students, whatever happens on this side of the step has got to happen on this side of the step. And something that I will do to show them is shade it in. And we shade it in this direction. Okay, but I said, what if you're shading it in and you get to the edge here? You got to stop. And you can tell just by your shading that this line has to be the same as this line. They're not parallel because you've got to use a vanishing point. But I know that this edge goes back to this vanishing point as well. So let's go ahead and put that on there. Okay, there's that line. All right, I've got a vertical here, so I have to have a vertical on this side. Just like that. And then again, this line, if I'm shading it in, okay, it's going to stop similar to that. That goes toward this vanishing point as well on the left. Okay, to draw that in. And then lastly, I end it with one more vertical, because whatever happens here happens on this side as well. Okay, so there we go. There's my stairs on there. Let's say I want to continue coming out the door, walking down the steps, and on a path into the yard. What a lot of my students will do, I'm going to get rid of some of these smudge marks while we're talking. What a lot of my students will do, just by habit, okay, they'll draw their lines down this way, okay? And that's not going to work unless you plan on stepping off the steps and falling down the hill, okay? If anything is flat in the yard, it's got to follow the vanishing points, okay? So if my path is flat, I line it up with the left point and I make it an extension of my stairs like that. Line it up against that line and bring it out this way. Okay, and that way it looks like it's flat in the yard. Now again, my lines are not parallel. They have to go to the vanishing point. So starting right here at the corner, lined up with the left vanishing point, and I come out like that. Okay, that path looks like it's flat against the ground now. It doesn't look like I'm going to fall off the edge. If I wanted to put a sidewalk on there, I'll go ahead and use my right point. Could use it for a sidewalk or a street. I've had students do curbs and sewer grates and all sorts of things on this. Because again, this is the basic stuff right here. All right. I was doing this the other day in class, and one of my students said, well, what about the cracks in the sidewalk? Well, here we go. I know that I should have lines coming in this direction for the cracks. All right, so if they're going in this direction, I line them up with that point. And let me start off by just extending the path and lining them up that way. So lined up with the left point, bringing it like this. Now, this is where some students make mistakes. They take it and they want to make it parallel. But as you get up here, it tends to look a little awkward. So here's the trick. Keep your straight edge on the left vanishing point. Okay, make your line on there. Just like that. Makes sense. I'm going to go down this way. And every line that I make for the sidewalk crack is lined up with this left vanishing point. If you've done the video where you draw the room and you're drawing the tile on the floor, it's the same concept. Keeping it on my left point. Now, a lot of my ideas for instruction I get from my students as we go. Let's make that a little smaller. And one of my students pointed out that the sidewalk is flat or flush with the street, and he wanted to know how to fix that. Well, what I can do is add a curb to it or give the sidewalk a little bit of height. So line up my straight edge with my right vanishing point, draw a third line there, just like that. Then by taking and making verticals, turn it this way. I can give my sidewalk a little bit of height. Okay, there you go. And this is where my student put the little sewer grate in there. Again, I've had people put the stripes on the road, and that's fine too. We can do a couple of those. Again, my students get extra credit for going beyond what they have to do. So I like to put them in the video as well. One of my students asked me why the lines on the road get so fat as they come closer to you. Well, just kind of answered your own question. When things come closer to you, they're going to look larger. Okay, and as you move to the vanishing points, you're moving further away, so they're going to get smaller. It's just perspective. Okay, so I've got stripes in the road as well. Erase a few little extras. Okay, let's see what else we can put in here. We can go ahead and put a fence in here. The thing to remember with fences is that your vertical lines are going to be vertical. Everything else goes to the vanishing point. So let's say I wanted the backyard fenced in. Really, really easy to put this here. There's the bottom of my fence. I'm going to make the top of the fence high, like a privacy fence. So the top of it, and these lines both go to this vanishing point on the left. I'm going to erase my horizon line behind here. And I'm just going to put a bunch of verticals in. I can end it first if you like, again with a vertical. And you can get as fancy or as simple as you want. I keep it simple in the instructional videos. But I've had people do all sorts of, fancy fences and gates and things like that. So there's a fence right there. You can put a fence back here and on this side as well. I just put a little bitty one. I'm going to make it above my horizon line again, because it might look kind of strange with a really short fence there. Okay, and again, this is only one kind of fence. I encourage you guys to experiment with it. Okay, so there's a fence on both sides. Let's see what else we can do. Let's go ahead and put a mailbox in. Some of my students have trouble with this because they're afraid to overlap the house. But think about real life. If you had bushes in front of here, they would be overlapped. Any kind of like lawn furniture or trees or anything like that. They're going to overlap the house because they're going to be in front of it. So with my mailbox, I'm going to draw just a rectangular mailbox. And let's see where I should put it. I don't want it to line right up with that. Maybe I'll move it in a little bit along the sidewalk. And so I'm going to start off with a vertical, which is how you start anything pretty much in two-point perspective. And I'm going to make this into a rectangle here. Use my right vanishing point, and I'm going to have a short side. Like that. Long side over here. And again, overlapping the house because it's in front of it. And right now that looks really strange because it looks like it's stuck to the house, but bear with me. Use my opposite vanishing points to make the rest of the cube. And my students learn how to do cubes first, or rectangular prisms if you want to get technical. Okay, so there it is. Erase the part of the house behind.